Hey friend, welcome to my channel karinealourde, where we talk about everything, and I'm karinealourde. Please be sure to like, subscribe. Please be sure to turn on your notification bell so you can always know when I post a new upload. Now let's get into today's video. Today we are talking about Lisa Left Eye Lopez.
I grew up in a home where there were so many restrictions that by the time I got on the street, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was drinking, so that fueled a lot of situations. And one day I just woke up and said, I can't take this anymore. I am a person who is still searching for who I am. I want to live for a long time, so that's perfect, I do believe that there's an afterlife, and I do believe that your life is defined by what you believe in.
And yes, though this is a tragic story, it's also very heartwarming. Lisa Nicole Lopez, better known by her stage name Left Eye, was an American rapper and singer. She was a member of the R&B girl group TLC alongside Tion, T-Boz, Watkins, and Rosanda Chili Thomas. Besides rapping and singing backing vocals on TLC recordings, Lopez was one of the creative forces behind the group, receiving more co-writing credits than any other member. She also designed the outfits and staging for the group and contributed to the group's image, album titles, artworks, and music videos. Through her work with TLC, Lopez won 4 Grammy Awards. During her brief solo career, Lopez scored 2 U.S. top 10 singles with Not Tonight and You Know What's Up, as well as 1 UK #1 single with Never Be the Same Again, the latter a collaboration with Melanie C of the British girl group Spice Girls. Lopez remains the only member of TLC to have released a solo album. On April 25, 2002, Lopez was killed in a car crash while organizing charity work in Honduras. She swerved off the road to avoid hitting another vehicle and was thrown from her car. She was working on a documentary at the time of her death, which was released as The Last Days of Left Eye and aired on VH1 in May 2007. We all know the story, but not many in this generation know who Lisa the person was and how she was more than just a tragic tale. I know when people die young in the industry, they become immortalized without us really knowing much of them. And today's video will humanize her as well as get into the many mysteries of her death in the industry that goes beyond just another tragic tale of a young, beautiful starlet full of potential gone too soon. Before we get into her childhood and the meat of this video, let's do a couple fun facts. Among her many talents, did you know she was also a pianist and keyboardist? She also played the clarinet. Her hobbies included sculpting and painting, as well as designing clothes and illustrations.
As a little girl, there were gifts that I received from my parents. My mother's side of the family is more artistically inclined. And everyone in my father's side of the family is musically inclined. My father was in the Army band. My father plays almost every instrument known to man. As a little girl, everything was natural for me. I could play the piano at 4. That bugged my mother and my father out. Growing up, all of the talents that I had, it was almost as if, why can't everybody do this? Me, my sister, and my brother used to put together shows for my mother some days while she was away at work. There were so many talent shows that I was involved with, whether it was being in the front, doing the rapping, or being the background dancer. I modeled. It didn't matter as long as I was involved. I'm very artistic. I know how to draw. I also know how to sew.
Anything you want to say to your fans?
Yeah. Just remember that y'all see me on this videotape. 10 years from now, y'all see me in the movies.
Tell them say no to drugs.
Yeah. And say no to drugs.
Her favorite color was purple, and in terms of her diet, she lived a pretty holistic life following the teachings of Dr. Sebi. Lisa Lopez spoke about the benefits of doing a 10-day cleanse using Dr. Sebi's herbal products.
I've been cleansing on and off for 3 years now. The most important thing in life is to have a very good diet, get rid of the meat, get rid of the sugar, and please get rid of the sodas.
Lopez had the weight of the world on her shoulders, and she felt the only way she would regain control of her life was to cleanse. She decided to do a 10-day cleanse because she needed to cleanse her body, mind, and emotions. Lopez consumed fresh juice, water, sea moss, fruits, and vegetables. After only 10 days, Lopez's energy increased and she only needed 4 hours of sleep a night to cope with her hectic life. Along with her increased energy, she also claimed that she experienced heightened intuition. She was able to focus more on herself internally and pay attention to things that she often overlooked. Lopez became more in tune with herself as well as her surroundings. She had no desire to eat the unhealthy foods she previously ate at the end of her 10-day cleanse. She became vegan. Lopez also explained that she was an alcoholic, and she credits Dr. Sebi of curing her of alcoholism. All of this is also important because Honduras was where Dr. Sebi was said to be based. So she was there for like another spiritual cleanse type of journey before her death. So it just shows you how her holistic lifestyle really did just play a major role in her life. Now let's get into her childhood. Lopez was born in 1971 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the daughter of Wanda Denise, a seamstress, and Ronald Lopez Sr., a U.S. Army Staff Sergeant. Lisa had a younger brother, Ronald Jr., and a younger sister, Reina Anitra, nicknamed Raindrop. Lisa's ethnicity was Native American, Mexican, and Cape Verdean. Lopez said her father was very strict, very domineering, and that he treated the family like they were in boot camp. He was also a talented musician who played the harmonica, clarinet, piano, and saxophone. When we lived with my dad, he was a drill sergeant for real. When he would come home, I don't care if it was 3 a.m. If it was something that wasn't right, he'd wake us up. We would jump out of the bed and we would run downstairs and we would line up like soldiers. Whenever I did bad in school, I got the heavy-duty punishment. No TV, no radio, no front porch, no backyard, no boyfriends, no nothing. You sit in your room and think. Lopez also says he was also abusive to her mother.
Thinking about it, I had some difficulties when I was growing up. I say the problems that I did have stemmed from my father was very strict. There were a lot of rules. My father was in the military. He's very dominant. He was a sergeant. He was a drill sergeant for real. Oh, yeah. We would come home. I don't care if it was 3 a.m. If it was something that wasn't right, he'd wake us up. We would jump out the bed and we would run downstairs and we would line up like soldiers. Whenever I did bad in school, yeah, I got the heavy duty punishment. No TV, no radio, no front porch, no backyard, no boyfriends, no nothing. I mean, he was the king of the castle. Don't even question him. Don't say, why, Daddy? Because I said so. He was kind of abusive when it came to my mother. You know, they did get into their little arguments and stuff, but he'd get a little bit physical. My mother was a very, very strong person, and I didn't realize how strong she was until I got older. My mother took me, my sister and brother, we left Philadelphia, we went to Florida. She took care of us and worked and came home and made sure that we ate, we had a roof over our heads and everything. During my teenage years, the family kind of got separated at one point. And I ended up, with my father's side of the family, staying with my grandmother. And my Nana, she used to play with our head. When I was living with her, you don't even understand. You see Mommy Dearest hiding the iron. Going to school with wrinkled clothes. Can't wash my hair. I won't run up the water bill. My grades started to go down because of so many problems. Telling me that the church clothes she bought me still belonged to her because she bought them. So I only look good in church and concentrate. So my dad used to put me on punishment. One report card to the next.
Additionally, Lopez noted in the film that her father, himself a heavy drinker, encouraged her drinking at a young age in spite of his otherwise strict demeanor.
One thing that I could do, which was really strange, was drink. My father would come over and check on me every weekend. We'd have the case of beer. So that was my thing, you know? I would drink, and my father would say, look at her go, look at her go. And that was one of the ways I got a lot of attention. When I was 15, I could actually drink a large amount of alcohol and not get tipsy. I left my house several times. I didn't know where I was going. I'd have to say back then, there were hard times for me. I had become so numb. Hey, I'm a dreamer, and I set my goals very high. So from a little girl on up, there were big things that I wanted to do. Ruling the world, you know? I think I was 17 years old is when I finally left for good.
Lopez's parents separated when she was still in school, and her paternal grandmother raised her during the later years of childhood. She began playing with a toy keyboard at 5 years old and later composed her own songs. By age 10, she formed the musical trio The Lopez Kids with her siblings, with whom she sang gospel songs at local events and churches. She attended the Philadelphia High School for Girls. In late 1990, having heard of an open casting call for a new girl group through her then boyfriend, Lopez moved to Atlanta to audition. Originally starting a female trio called Second Nature, the group was renamed TLC, derived from the first initials of its members at the time, Tion Watkins, Lisa Lopez, and Crystal Jones. Things did not work out with Jones, and TLC's manager Perry Pebbles, Reed, brought in Damien Dame backup dancer Rosanda Thomas as a third member of the group. To preserve the band's original name, Thomas needed a name starting with C, which is how she became Chili, a name chosen by Lopez. Watkins became T-Boz, derived from the first letter of her first name, and Boz, slang for boss. Lopez was renamed Left Eye after a compliment from New Edition member Michael Bivins, who once told her he was attracted to her because of her left eye, which was more slanted than the right eye. Lopez emphasized her nickname by wearing a pair of glasses with the right lens covered by a condom, and keeping with the group's support of safe intercourse, wearing a black stripe under her left eye and eventually getting her left brow pierced. The group arrived on the music scene in 1992 with the album Ooh on the TLC tip, with 4 hit singles. It sold 6 million copies worldwide, leading to the group becoming a household name.
After we met Pebbles, the third member didn't work out, and that's when we met Chili. She was a dancer for Damien Dame at the time.
Hello? Yeah, Chili. She's character. T-Boz, Left Eye, and Chili in the house. Pebbles took us to dinner one night, and she said, I am going to sign you guys. That's when we felt like, oh man, we made it. Chili was the person who did a lot of the dancing and the choreography. Tion contributed a lot to the music. Tion's voice is so unique. We didn't sound like anybody, and it was because of Tion. My biggest contribution to the first album was the baggy clothes with the colors and the condoms. I contributed a lot to the image. So that's how we put this thing together. We have 3 different individual styles, but we gel together as a group.
TLC sold countless number of records, but record sales to me aren't what success is in my eyes. Most important thing to me is that I take my experiences and the knowledge that I have and share it with the world.
Shortly afterwards, Lopez began dating Atlanta Falcons football player Andre Ricin, and the two soon moved in together in Ricin's upscale double-story home. Their relationship was allegedly filled with violent moments, and Lopez filed an assault charge against Ricin on September 2, 1993. Ricin denied battering her. Lopez was also battling alcoholism at the time, having been a heavy drinker since the age of 15. After another fight between the couple in the early morning hours of June 9, 1994, Lopez tossed numerous pairs of Ricin's newly purchased shoes into a bathtub, and she set them on fire. Lopez and Ricin had a fight previously because she caught Ricin in bed with another woman. Lopez then threw numerous teddy bears Ricin had brought her into the tub, doused them with gasoline also, and lit them on fire. Ricin then had to replace the fiberglass tub with a marble one, which melted when she set the shoes on fire and caused the house to go up in flames as well. Lopez was arrested and indicted on charges of first-degree arson. She was sentenced to 5 years of probation and a $10,000 fine. Ricin eventually reconciled with Lopez, and they continued dating on and off for 7 years. Lopez was often vocal about her personal life and difficult past. She openly stated that she came from, a very tumultuous background and alcoholic background also, and struggled with alcoholism herself. These issues became headline news in 1994 when she was arrested. She claimed that Ricin had beaten her after a night out, and she set fire to his shoes to get back at him, but that burning down the house was an accident. Lopez later revealed that she did not have a lot of freedom with the relationship, and that Ricin physically harmed her and emotionally harmed her as well. She said that she released her frustration about the relationship on the night of the fire. Lopez was sentenced to 5 years probation, as we know, and therapy at a halfway house, and was unable to shake the incident from her reputation.
You always end up with the person that you never expected to be with. And Andre, I didn't expect to be with him. The Andre situation and how I met him is kind of funny. He was out at a club, and Andre followed me around that club to the point where I was so annoyed. I went over to the house, and when I pulled up, he was hanging out of the window waiting for me. He had this big, beautiful house, and it was empty. And I was like, why don't you have any furniture? Because I'm waiting for you to furnish it. Andre used to tell me, I love you so much, that I never had a chance to say it first. But there were some parts about it that weren't that good. He gives out his money, his cars, his clothes, but one thing that he is very protective, is a girl. It was very jealous and very possessive. I didn't have any freedom. That's the big problem. So I needed permission to do things. One time when I got home, I went upstairs and the bed is all made and his car is in the driveway. I'm like, I went upstairs and he was in the room, in the guest room, butt naked. I opened the closet door. There's a girl standing in a pink jacket with stockings on.
Andre Rison had just left this night spot with his girlfriend, rap singer Lisa Lopez, and allegedly started beating her.
Next thing you know, he pulled me in the bedroom and we were fighting. The whole time I'm screaming and he grabbed me, throwing me back on the bed, pinning me down, ripping my clothes, and he's just going crazy. Yeah, and then when I would get up on my feet and then I would start just beating on him and stuff, you know, he would ball up and he would just let me take my frustrations out. And I woke up and that's when I walked in the bathroom and looked in the damn mirror. And when I seen my face, I was like, I'm about to kill him. I was still enraged. I was still hurt. You're gonna burn. You're gonna burn. Went under the cabinet, grabbed my lighter fluid that I used to barbecue with, and barbecued me some tennis shoes. My sister ran in the bathroom, and she pulled me out of it. Now I'm hypnotized by the flames. I'm in a trance. Flames are growing. The fire, the intensity, everything is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. At that point, I was just gazing. And when I got outside, I looked at that house and this feeling came over me like, wow. I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't mean for the house to burn down. I just meant for it to stay in the tub.
Lisa has an alcohol problem and has actually had an alcohol problem for some time.
Like I was just crazy, drunk out my mind, didn't know what I was doing, and just for no reason.
Lopez is a singer with the hip-hop group TLC. What she's accused of doing yesterday is far from tender loving care.
Next thing you know, I'm almost sitting up in some old detox room, like, what am I doing here? When I was in the rehabilitation program, my father was on my mind heavy. My father died 4 years earlier. Him and a distant cousin used to go at it all the time. And one night they just got into this really, really, really bad dispute. The other guy shot him. You know, they're having an argument. So before I get mad at my daddy, because he was crazy, I'd be just trying to think, what the hell did his mama do to him? And what the hell did her mama do to her? When Crazy Sexy Cool came out, it blew up. And I know it had much more to do with just the music. I know for a fact that the fire helped. TLC, Left Eye, Lisa Lopez was heavily publicized because of that incident, because of the fire.
Lopez revealed on the last days of Left Eye documentary that her meeting with a struggling mother in rehab left a big impression on her. She subsequently adopted the woman's 8-year-old daughter. She had adopted a 12-year-old boy 10 years prior. Shortly after, Crazy Sexy Cool was released, selling over 23 million copies worldwide. However, Lopez's stint in rehab had led to her only having limited input in the writing and recording of the album. After the release of Crazy Sexy Cool, Lopez was a featured artist for the first time on How Do You Like It, a song by Keith Sweat in 1994. Later in 1995, Lopez recorded a well-received verse to the rap version of Freedom of the soundtrack from the Black Panther-based docudrama Panther. Lopez had several tattoos. Most prominent was a large eagle on her left arm, which she said represented freedom. Later, she added the number 80 around the eagle, which was Rison's NFL number while in Atlanta. She also had a tattoo of a moon with a face on her foot in reference to Rison's nickname, Bad Moon. Lopez later added the words, Love You Too, and the musical notes on her foot for Tupac Shakur. On her upper right arm was a large tattoo of the name Perron for her late stepbrother who died in a boating accident, arcing over a large tattoo of a pierced heart. Her smallest tattoo was on her left earlobe and consisted of an arrow pointing to her left over the symbol of an eye, a reference to her nickname. Lopez struggled with self-harm and even carved the words hate and love into her arms with a razor.
Wasn't trying to kill myself. Wasn't going to die. Wasn't afraid. I knew I was going to cut myself and there was going to be some blood. I did this around 7 years ago. I carved love in my arm with a Lady Bic razor, one of those pink Fix.
In 1997, Lopez was featured on the remix to Lil' Kim's Not Tonight alongside Missy Elliott, Angie Martinez, and The Brat. The single earned all artists a nomination for Best Rap Performance by a Duo or Group at the 1998 Grammys Award. TLC's third album, Fan Mail, was released in 1999 and sold over 14 million copies worldwide. The album's title was a tribute to TLC's loyal fans, and the sleeve contained the names of hundreds of them as a thank you. During and after the release of Fan Mail, Lopez made it known to the press on multiple occasions that she felt that she was unable to express herself in TLC fully. Her contributions to songs had been reduced to periodic 8-bar raps, and there were several songs in which she had no vocals. Studio session singers such as Deborah Killing often sing background vocals for the group's songs, something Lopez also wanted to do on songs in which she did not rap. In the May 1999 issue of Vibe magazine, Lopez said, "I've graduated from this era. I cannot stand 100% behind this TLC project and the music that is supposed to represent me." In response to Lopez's comments, Chili and T-Boz stated to Entertainment Weekly that Lopez doesn't respect the whole group and Left Eye is only concerned with Left Eye. In response, Lopez sent a reply through Entertainment Weekly issuing a challenge to Chili and T-Boz to release solo albums and let the public decide who is the greatest member of TLC. She said, "I challenged Tion Watkins, T-Boz, and Rosanda Thomas, Chili, to an album entitled The Challenge, a 3-CD set that contains 3 solo albums. Each album will be due to the record label by October 1st, 2000. I also challenged Dallas, the manipulator Austin, to produce all of the material and do it at a fraction of his normal rate. As I think about it, I'm sure LaFace would not mind throwing in a $1.5 million prize for the winner." Watkins and Thomas declined to take up the challenge, though Lopez always maintained it was a great idea. Things were heated between the ladies for some time, with Chili speaking out against Lopez, calling her antics selfish, evil, and heartless. TLC then addressed these struggles by saying that they are very much like sisters who have their disagreements. Every now and then, as Lopez explained, it's deeper than a working relationship. We have feelings for each other, which is why we get so mad at each other. I usually say that you cannot hate someone unless you love them, so we love each other. That's the problem.
All right. This is how a group can sell 10 million records and be broke. There are 100 points on the album. TLC had 7. Every point is equal to 8 cents. 7 times 8, 56 cents. Every time an album gets sold, TLC gets 56 cents. So 10 million records, $5.6 million. Seems like a lot of money. Well, it's not a lot of money when the record company has spent $3 million to record your album. We pay all costs back to the record company. We paid recording costs, video costs. We have $2.6 million left. Well, guess what? When you have that much money, you're in about the 47, 48, 49% tax bracket. So that immediately gets deducted to $1.3 million. Then you split the rest 3 ways. You got about $300,000 a piece, if that much. $300,000. I can buy a nice house with that. And what am I going to pay my bills with?
Let me see. I want to say something without saying too much. Dallas recorded some songs for TLC that we hadn't yet gone in to record, but Dallas tried to charge us about $4.2 million. So trust me, you can sell 10 million albums and be broke if you have greedy people behind you.
When TLC first started, we were happy. Shortly after that, we had managerial problems. Then I had my legal problems, and things didn't seem to be quite so fun anymore. There were times when we fought like sisters. At the end of the day, we're happy. I'm not a wild person, but if you're going to compare me to the other 2 group members, I have probably had the wildest statements. It's not frustrating at all for me to get the type of attention that I get when the house situation happened, when the media wrote certain things about me and I was labeled as being crazy. At the end of the day, I did notice that it actually did help sell records. T-Boz and Chili did not take me up on the challenge. You know, I wanted to do a 3-CD set where each of us did a solo album, and we included it in one package. I didn't miss the girls when I did my solo project at all. I'd been looking forward to doing a solo project since the birth of TLC. TLC's music is pretty much R&B pop. My music is a bit more eclectic.
I can't even imagine how far she would have been if she lived a little longer. Lopez created Left Eye Productions to discover new talent. She mentored the R&B trio Black, and helped them secure a record deal with Columbia Records. Their self-titled debut album was executive produced by Lopez, which also made a cameo appearance in their music video, 808, and also rapped in their second music video, I Do. Lopez was also developing and promoting another new band called Egypt. They worked with Lopez on her second album under her new nickname, Nina, meaning new identity, not applicable. In 2000, Lopez became a featured rapper on several singles, including Spice Girls, Melanie C's Never Be the Same Again, which topped the charts in 35 countries, including the United Kingdom. She was also featured on You Know What's Up, the first single from Donnell Jones' second album, Where I Wanna Be. She rapped a verse in Space Cowboys with NSYNC on their 2000 album. She also collaborated on Gimme Some by Toni Braxton for her 2000 album, The Heat. She had previously featured on Keith Sweat's song How Do You Like It in 2001. She appeared in a commercial for the fashion brand Gap. In July 2001, Lopez appeared on the Singers edition of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire along with Joey McIntyre, Tyrese, Nick Lachey, and Leanne Womack. In 2008, Lopez's family opened UNI Studios, which she had created for the purpose of recording solo projects to the public. Her brother Ronald is the general manager of the studio. Lopez had a dream of making new artists able to record music at a low cost in a high-end studio at her house. Her family continues to operate it and fill it with new equipment. Roughly 2 weeks before her own death, Lopez was a passenger in a traffic accident that resulted in the death of a 10-year-old Honduran boy. As reported in Philadelphia Weekly, it is commonplace for people to walk the road that wend through Honduras, and it's often difficult to see pedestrians. The boy was following behind his brothers and sisters when he stepped off the median strip and was struck by a van driven by Stephanie Lopez, who was Lisa's personal assistant. Lopez's party stopped and loaded the boy into the car. Left eye cradled the dying boy's bleeding head in her arm, while someone gave him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation as they rushed him to a nearby hospital. He died the next day, and Lisa paid approximately $3,700 for his medical expenses and funeral, and she gave the family around $925 for any extra costs, although it was apparently agreed upon by the authorities and the boy's family that his death was an unforeseeable tragedy, and no blame was placed on the driver of the van or the Lopez.
I have premonitions, dreams. I think it's the energy in the air.
The brain, it looks like it's not functioning. And we are afraid that he had drained it. Okay, sir.
What can you tell the family that whatever they decide to do, we can help? These are the shoes that belong to the little boy.
Earlier in the documentary, Lopez mentioned that she felt the presence of a spirit following her and was struck by the fact that the child killed in the accident shared a similar last name, even thinking that the spirit may have made a mistake by taking his life instead of hers. How chilling, right? On April 25, 2002, Lopez was driving a rented Mitsubishi in La Ceiba, Honduras, when she swerved to avoid a truck, then sharply to the left as she tried to avoid an oncoming car. The vehicle rolled several times after hitting two trees, throwing Lopez and three others out of the window, and finally coming to rest in a ditch at the side of the road. Lopez, at the age of 30, died instantly, a fracture of the base of the cranium and open cerebral trauma, and was the only person fatally injured in the accident. The accident was recorded on video from inside the vehicle because a documentary film was in progress.
At the same time, I personally do not believe in death. I believe in transformation. I do believe that there is an afterlife. We all share the same space.
Lopez's funeral was held at New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Lithonia, Georgia on May 2nd, 2002. Thousands of people attended. Engraved upon her casket were the lyrics to her portion of Waterfalls, stating, "Dreams are hopeless aspirations and hopes of coming true. Believe in yourself, the rest is up to me and you." Lopez was buried at Hillendale Memorial Gardens in Lithonia. In a statement to MTV, producer Jermaine Dupri remembered Lopez, saying, "She was determined to be something in life. She was a true rock star. She didn't care about no press. She was the rock star out of the group. She was the one that would curse on TV. She had the tattoos. You could expect the unexpected. When you see Lisa, you could expect something from her. That's the gift she carried." Chili also told Essence magazine, "People didn't understand how much of a heart she really had and how passionate and giving she was. She might have come across as someone who wanted to start trouble all the time, but that wasn't it. She just had a lot to say. Sometimes when you speak what's on your mind, I'm talking everything on your mind, people can get a misconception of you. So because she spoke her mind all of the time, it caused people to misjudge her." T-Boz, who had sickle cell disease, once received a thoughtful gift from Lopez when she was in the hospital. T-Boz talked about it with Essence magazine on the 10th anniversary of Lopez's passing, saying, "She was very creative too. I remember I was in the hospital for 4 months and she sent me a clock that she made, and the clock read, 'Take all the time you need.' She really put thought into things." And you guys know that T-Boz's birthday is the day after Lopez died. So imagine every year, the day before your birthday, you have to relive the death of one of your closest friends. I couldn't even imagine. Lopez was in the process of setting up 2 educational centers for Honduran children. One was built on an 80-acre plot of land she called Camp Yak. The other center was called Creative Castle. In 2003, shortly after Lopez's death, her family started the Lisa Lopez Foundation, a charitable group dedicated to providing neglected and abandoned youth with the resources necessary to increase their quality of life. Her spiritual motto was the one used for her foundation: "Energy never dies, it just transforms." Her foundation went into various underdeveloped villages and gave new clothes to poor children and their families. In August 2007, the foundation hosted a charity auction selling items donated by celebrities. It raised approximately $5,000 for the Hogar de Amor, Home of Love, an orphanage in Honduras. In 2012, the foundation began hosting an annual music festival known as Left Eye Music Fest in Decatur, Georgia. A documentary showing the final 27 days of Lopez's life, titled The Last Days of Left Eye, premiered at the Atlanta Film Festival in April 2007 for an audience that included many of Lopez's contemporaries, including Monica, Rana DeVoe, 112, Big Boy, NDRE, and CeeLo Green. VH1 and VH1 Soul broadcast a documentary on May 19, 2007. Most of the footage was shot with a handheld camera, often in the form of diary entries filmed by Lopez while on a 30-day spiritual retreat in Honduras with her sister Raindrop, brother Ronald, and members of the R&B group Egypt. In these entries, she reflected on her personal life and career. A calmer side of her personality was on display, showing interest in numerology and yoga. Lopez spent much of her free time after the conclusion of TLC's first headlining tour, the Fan Mail Tour, recording her debut solo album, Supernova. It includes a song titled "A New Star is Born," which is dedicated to her late father, she told MTV News. The track is dedicated to all those that have loved ones that have passed away. It's saying that there is no such thing as death. We can call it transforming for a lack of better words, but as scientists would say, every atom that was once a star is now in you. It is your body. So in the song, I pretty much go along with that idea. I don't care what happens or what people think about death. It doesn't matter. We all share the same space. I wanted to add a couple facts that people don't know much about and get deeper into who Lisa Left Eye Lopez was beyond just the artist. One of the things with her passing has been a lot of conspiracy theories, and you see a lot of videos on TikTok lately because of a J. Cole song where they're linking her death to Diddy and stuff. You guys can go down that rabbit hole. I just prefer I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole because in looking deeper into it, I don't believe any of those conspiracies or anything like that. It just doesn't make sense. Y'all know I'm a big conspiracy head, but even then, those didn't really link up. What is interesting is that the Lisa Lopez conspiracy, which I do find strange, refers to theories linking her death to that of Aaliyah, because she died 8 months after Aaliyah's death, and Michael Jackson. There's a date coincidence, and the key piece of evidence is that Aaliyah died on August 25th, 2001, Left Eye on April 25th, 2002, and Michael Jackson on June 25th, 2009. So they all died on the 25th day of every month. And we know all three of them were into numerology, right? And we'll get into the religion that Lisa Left Eye is in, and then we'll revisit this again. So I did find that kind of interesting, and we know there's no coincidence in the industry. So comment below your thoughts with that, because how do you explain that? How do you explain that? But another thing where they tried to link, because TLC was the biggest selling girl group at that time, right? And Destiny's Child was coming up, and there was a lot of articles and people talking about, oh, Destiny's Child is copying TLC style, and then would try to get the ladies from TLC to speak against it. But Lisa did speak on it and was like, yeah, we noticed, we peeped that their sound definitely sounds similar to us in their fashion for sure. Like, she took credit for the fashion of Destiny's Child, that the fashion is definitely an influence from TLC.
I see some comparisons between TLC and Destiny's Child. It seems like there are some influences from TLC as far as styling is concerned.
But she was always a good sport about it and said that there's room for everybody, and we could have 10 more girl groups that are doing that. So she didn't take any slight from the similarities that they had, but it was something that she was aware of and spoke about, that Destiny's Child is kind of following that formula of TLC. And a lot of the conspiracy theories was like, you know, you guys comment your thoughts. I don't have an opinion with this, because I know Hollywood is stranger than fiction. Anything could be possible. But sometimes we do link stuff that are just, it doesn't always add up, and it's just people really drawing coincidences. Comment below your thoughts, because there's a theory that Aaliyah was taken out of here by Jay-Z and Beyonce so that Beyonce wouldn't have competition. And then, a couple months after Aaliyah passed, and Lisa was cool with Aaliyah and spoke about her passing a lot in interviews, etc. Then Lisa, who is known as the most creative in the TLC group, who tried to go out and have her own solo album, etc., was seen as a potential threat as well. And Jay-Z and Beyonce just kind of eliminated her too, to like clear the path ritualistically for Beyonce to be the reigning supreme, with Destiny's Child first, and then Beyonce to climb out of there and not have any competition around her. But Beyonce will always be thrown into these things. And I just want to say personally, I don't know. I don't think that's that. Lisa had a lot more going on. She had a lot more going on. And so did Aaliyah. They messed with the occult a lot. And they had a lot going on. So comment below your thoughts. What is her religious views? Because for you to really understand a person, you have to know their religious views and political views. Now, Lisa never really spoke on politics, but she was a very religious and spiritual person. But she was into the Hindu spirituality. She worshipped the Hindu dancing god Nataraja, a form of the deity Shiva. So basically Shiva, right? This deity is worshipped and celebrated by a lot of celebrities because it is a deity that supposedly gives you artistic powers to dance, sing, and act. And as you saw in several clips, she had idols dedicated to this deity all over her home.
Shortly after that, we had managerial problems. At the end of the day, I did notice that it actually did help sell records. TLC's music is pretty much R&B pop. My music.
She was also into numerology, astrology, and yoga, and had rituals she would tap into that would make her ascend into being a god.
According to numerology, number 1 is about knowledge and birth. When I want to say something, I should say it. Guess what? You're not just a physical being, okay? You are an entity with an energy source, that is responsible for, your physical well-being. I like to be adventurous and learn new things and read, and I like to dabble in books, different cultures, animals, space.
Astrology is based on planets and stars. Numerology is a system based on numbers that have a very deep meaning.
According to astrology and numerology, I'm all about change. I find Asian culture interesting. I love the arts, music, dancing. There's so many things. Timing is everything. Time, space, and energy. When I first got in TLC, I was somewhere at the right time with the right people. This is my room, everyone. My beautiful room. I miss my chair that I painted.
Spiritual beliefs, again, Lisa, and many of her interviews, countless interviews I was watching and documentaries, she was someone that was always searching for meaning and someone that was always searching for purpose spiritually. So because of that, she spiritually opened herself a lot to a lot of things. And she said she likes to read different books, and she would go to different spiritual retreats deep in the jungle, not just the Dr. Sebi one. And she would get into a lot of stuff. So she spiritually opened herself to spirits. Like she said, she would have dreams of very demonic dreams and have very spiritual encounters. She would also have premonitions and events that were strange, but she would attribute to her openness spiritually. So this is why I say, you know, with all the conspiracy theories that are out there, Lisa was also open to a lot. And, you know, when you open yourself to a lot of these things come to collect. That's just Karine's personal opinion, you know, being someone that's from a very spiritual country. When you dabble a lot with these things, you open yourself to a lot. And she always had thoughts of ending her life and doing a lot of dark things to her. So there was a lot of signs that she was a very spiritually disturbed person. She also was rumored to suffer with bipolar disorder and split personality disorder, which was activated and induced with alcohol. So, yeah.
Lopez pleaded no contest to obstructing an officer during that arrest.
This morning, rap star Lisa Lopez arrived in court.
Lisa Lopez is involved in another situation.
A troubling and embarrassing episode in her celebrity life.
We have no comment.
Me and alcohol, when we get together, when I got drunk, I was just a different person. I was just somebody that people was just like, man, that ain't Lisa, that's Nikki. There was this girl. They used to call her Nikki. Every time I got drunk, this girl named Nikki would show up. Whenever there was something that happened that Lisa didn't want to take the blame for, she blamed it on Nikki. When these two started to battle it out, I had to create a third person to come in, straighten the two of them out. Oh, y'all don't know Nina? My evil twin who came from within, whom I blame all my sins on. That's what I was doing. I was creating all these different personalities. Yeah, so she would create different personalities and they would come out, and if you go deeper into it, she'd say she'd black out. She'd be in a trance. Like even when she started the fire for her ex-boyfriend, you notice she said the fire put her in a haze and trance. So when she'd act out or do anything that was crazy violent or out of body, she'd have an outer body experience and say something else would take over her. My sister ran in the bathroom and she pulled me out of it. I'm hypnotized by the flames. I'm in a trance. At that point, I was just gazing. And when I got outside, I looked at that house and this feeling came over me like, wow. I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't mean for the house to burn down. So again, you know, I don't know. She was also a self-harmer. She harmed herself a lot and would cut into her skin. She first cut the word love into her skin when she first got her boyfriend, and you know, she was all love, and then after that she cut herself with hate, the word hate, and she was always doing extreme things like that. And you know, I don't know, comment below what your thoughts are in terms of the split personalities, but she would always be driven to do certain things that she wouldn't necessarily be proud of. And she talked about a time in her life when all of her different personalities started to fight each other and she just needed peace. And that's why she would go on cleanse and fasts and these retreats to kind of find peace and just let Lisa only be the sole focus, and all those other entities that were living inside of her that would come to life to be put to rest. And she cut off alcohol because she noticed alcohol, which is called spirits, would induce those more, but then also rage and anger. Whenever she'd get
rageful or angry, even in the absence of alcohol, she would do things that she's in a trance when she's doing them. And then when she snaps out of it, she realizes, wait, I didn't mean for it to go that far, or I didn't mean to do that. So she started towards the end of her life trying to take accountability for those things. And this is what this retreat that she was on with at the Dr. Sebi retreat, that's what she was trying to do, just recalibrate her life, so you'd say. And also, a lot of people notice with her eyes that her eyes are pretty black, dark, melanated, heavily melanated. I always loved her eyes, right? But to a lot of people, you'll say, hey, it's so piercing and so electric, you would say, that it can scare you a little bit because her pupils are pretty huge. So there's a thing now that I saw that they were saying that she has something called, and forgive me for the mispronunciation, aniridia, which is a case where someone has melanin-rich black eyes, and it's in the medical community, it's considered a disorder, but it's not like harmful or anything. I don't think it's a disorder. I think it's gorgeous. It's piercing, but it's like the eyes are very heavily melanated to where it looks black, even in light reflection. So it makes the eyes look a lot bigger, the pupils, etc. So she even said when she was born, her mom was scared of her and thought she looked like an alien because all she saw was two big black eyes just looking at her. So growing up, people would be scared of her eyes because it was just so black. Like you've never seen someone's eyes so black. Usually we have just like a tint of brown in that. But I think her eyes are gorgeous, and she's not the only one that have this. A lot of people have this as well. So they've labeled it a disorder because it is rare, but not that it will cause any harm.
My mom said when they first brought me out to her, after she had me, said I scared her. All she could see was these big black, like I looked like a little alien, like. In the beginning, I was real tiny for my age. I was running at 7 months. No one really knew where I was going and what I was going to get into.
So the last part of this segment is her influence on the culture. So she was one of the ones that helped promote safe sex, which also normalized and increased sexual activity in teens, because a lot of teens, those were their target audience.
Our next guests are chart-topping, hip-hopping, feminist rapping, singing, fine, condom wearing, safe sex talking, fashion styling group of the 90s, performing their latest single, Hat to the Back, from their CD. Ooh, on the TLC tip, please give it up for TLC.
Hope for a lot of females got out of it was that independent feeling.
What do you think is good sex?
Good sex is safe sex. Never forget that.
They made songs like I Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Y'all know that song, basically saying anytime they want it, there was nothing wrong with begging for it, okay? And we had teens singing that in middle school and all that, okay? One song I kept singing in my teens was Red Light Special. I never knew what Red Light Special was about when I was singing it. I wasn't, old enough. And I had no business singing it, but I didn't know any better, but it was very, very, very explicit. And I grew up with their influence and can attest that many kids were singing their songs without knowing. But one thing that they did, they promoted independence, promoted feminism, and they promoted safe sex. So that was one of their goals, to get young girls to be sensually liberated. They help push that movement within the Black community. And at times they would face backlash, though a lot of people supported them promoting safe sex. They were like, hey, this is part of the agenda with the, CIA and stuff to push out certain narratives, especially within the Black community, which was a lot more conservative during those eras. Like when the 90s, 80s, 70s, the Black community was really, really conservative until you had the entertainment aspect like hip hop, R&B, and they kind of, now we have the Sexy Reds and stuff, but it was like a slow burn towards that, and TLC kind of played a role in that. They did make a lot of spiritual songs, since Left Eye was the writer of majority of their songs. She often placed themes of manifestation, spiritual awakening, and homage to the deity Shiva in her songs. And when she tried to, come out with her own album called Supernova, she used a lot of numerology and astrology in it, and Shiva worship, etc.
Sometimes when you're in a group, limitations are set. Being a solo artist, I pretty much get to say whatever I want to say, however I want to say it. A supernova is a rare star that increases up to 1 billion times its normal shine. But the official release date is August 16th, 2001. It's going to explode like a bomb. There's magic in those numbers to me. 162001, that equals 10. And according to numerology, 10 is symbolic of a star.
So it's one thing. I would say Lisa was like the T.I. of the female rap singer, because she would be very articulate in her raps and use her grammar was immaculate, like the word choices she would have. And so people would get lost in not understanding the lyrics, but the lyrics always represented her life. Even Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls, it always reflected a moment of her life or her spiritual belief, which she was really in tune with. And these are things I think you ought to know when you want to learn about an icon and you make the choice. Hey, do I want to, how I want to celebrate this icon or not? A lot of people don't know. Okay, so don't get upset. I want to share more of these things for those who know, and for those who don't know, you would want to know that. Like, I didn't know none of this until I dug deep. And as I know this, I know, hey, maybe my spiritual beliefs would make me not inclined to listen to particular songs that may be worshiping another deity when the person is very open about that's what they're doing. But I still think she's a very beautiful woman, and her life was cut way too soon. But the last thing I want to add, if you guys saw the clip of like her taking the life of the little boy by accident, said it was a spirit that was following her. Like, again, she would have spirits where it'd be positive spirits that follow her and she embraced and entertained them. And then, of course, there was the negative spirits that would make her want to self-harm or, try to take her out of there. Multiple times she would always be afraid of death and then feel like she was going to die until the end of her life. Towards the ending of her life, she started saying, hey, I don't even really believe in death. And, she stopped being afraid of death because she didn't believe in death. But there was a lot of criticism with that too, because shortly after the boy passing, yes, she paid for everything. One of the conspiracies was that the family of the boy went on and did like a revenge. Roots, Honduras is a spiritual country itself. It's a spiritual place. So it was like they did Roots to kind of end just her life, because despite the fact that she was the only one wearing seatbelt in the car. Can you imagine? The only one wearing seatbelt, and she was the only one that died. So people was like, that's pretty strange, because yeah, you paid us, but can you replace a child, losing a child? And then you just continued with your documentary. A couple of days later, she was bathing, saying, I feel great. Let's go for a drive. It was like the morning was so temporary. And then there was a sense of mystical, I don't know. If you're familiar with those things, it's kind of weird that she got the shoes of the little boy after he died. I was looking at her documentary like, why do you have the shoes of the little boy? And his last name was Lopez. To keep a memorabilia of someone who passed away from you. How did she get it? Did the family give it to her? I wasn't able to find that, but I'm guessing, the family, or was it in the scene she took it, but it was in the documentary. And that was just kind of eerie. If you know, you know. If you know, you know what I'm saying. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. If you know what I'm saying. And was it just something that backfired?
Can you tell the family that whatever they decide to do, we can help? These are the shoes that belong to the little boy. And his last name was Lopez.
Was it something that backfired? This is just for dialogue. I'm curious to see what you guys think about that. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. And I will see you guys in the next one.